Thank you, PJ. It is time for another edition of the Pair and a Spare podcast. I'm Justin Gaard from The Fan and the Gopher Sports Network. We've got Chip Scoggins from the Star Tribune, Ryan Burns from GopherIllustrated.com. We're presented, as always, by our great partners at Jack's Cafe. We're going to talk a little bit later about how much fun we had at Jack's on Saturday night as part of the Dinkytown Athletes event. But it's our 100th episode, and we wanted a special guest for episode number 100. So I called in every favor. I called in every marker. Anything we could possibly do to really get the man who starts the podcast every week telling us that Glenn Mason said a long time ago at the University of Minnesota, you need a pair and a spare. He's head coach PJ Fleck, who got tricked into doing the podcast. They told him he was doing, Reef Davis and Nick Saban. It's just a pair and a spare, coach. Sorry about that.
Isn't it who you told me we were going to be on with? Fantastic. Thanks for having me on the show, guys. Heard a lot about it. Believe it or not, heard a lot about it. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, this is great. We're really excited, and we know you got a lot to do today. So I'm going to stay in the background a lot because Burnsy always complains he never gets to talk to you.
Here we go.
There's never any media availability.
Me already.
He wants to talk to you in like February when there's nothing going on. He's complaining. We haven't had any time with the head coach. So Burnsy, you're going to get to ask whatever you want to ask for the next 20 to 30 minutes, and Chip, you too. So you guys take it away.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, PJ, we want to ask.
Guys. I prefer this setting.
Yeah, we won't ask football questions. This podcast is kind of all over the map, so we appreciate you doing it. It's good to see you.
You bet. You too, Chip.
Yeah. I've been thinking about we started this podcast 4 years ago, I think, because I had an idea. It's like we all love college football, right? And this market needed more college football talk, I think. And I've been thinking about, like, last couple of days, just this being our 100th anniversary, like where I fell in love with college football, growing up in Tennessee, and every Saturday we'd be in the basement when, watching, we'd have the Tennessee game on and the TV turned down with the radio turned up. And, John Ward was our play-by-play, and he had always started with like, it's football time in Tennessee. And, me and my parents would go crazy. And I remember my uncle took me to my first Tennessee game when I was 8 years old, and walking out into that stadium and looking out. I mean, I thought it was heaven, right? Just being up on top and seeing that stadium. So I think that's where I fell in love with football. So I'm kind of curious, like, what made you fall in love with football? Was there like a seminal moment? Was there something as a child that drew you to it?
I was pretty undersized. I mean, I was only 5'9", 150 pounds graduating high school, right? And so I always liked basketball, baseball. I was probably fit more to play those positions and those sports. But I fell in love with football when I just started doing it. But I can remember watching games with my dad, Keith Jackson, talking about the Rose Bowl, Pat Summerall, John Madden. Even as a kid, I think my dad got me involved in like Super Bowl squares, which he probably wasn't supposed to do, but like a Super Bowl square when I was a little kid with my name on that square. I think that got me interested in football. I was like, we get to pick teams, and if they score this, we win. I think it just got me involved in football, but I was the undersized guy. I mean, I didn't play tackle football till almost high school, 8th grade, where I played all the other sports leading up to that. And if it was football, it was more flag football. I think I just did it and loved it because it was something to do. But I didn't have I didn't have many people in my family that played football or connected to football. But yeah, I mean, that's where I loved it based on what I watched and what I heard of it. And then when you get a chance to just stay active in the fall in middle school and high school, it was something I gave a shot, and I was somewhat pretty good at it.
See, I want to talk more about PJ Fleck's hobbies. And I know one of your hobbies here, because I saw it from every recruit photo last weekend, is I think somebody here likes the Masters quite a bit. Have you ever been to the Masters, and what's your handicap on the golf course?
All right, I'll start your second question first. First of all, I love golf. I don't play enough. I'm an 11.8. You can look that up.
No idea what that means, to be honest.
Basically, I'm okay. I can athletically move myself around the golf course, but I love golf. And part of what I love about golf is just playing the game, being outdoors, walking the course. There's always a shot that makes me feel like I'm really good. And keeps you always coming back. There's a nostalgia to it. There's such a history and tradition to it. I love the meticulous parts of the game, that from the swing to the undulation to the greens. Everything is challenging. There's really no second or no shot that's ever the same. And I just love playing it. I think you can play it with so many different people, and you can play it when you're 4 years old all the way up till 94 years old. And I love it because it's a sport. But I do love the Masters. Yes, I have been to the Masters. I went a few years ago just for the Wednesday practice round and Thursday. And it was like heaven for me. I love golf. It's not just that I love the Masters more, but during Masters week, I always wear my Masters gear. Mm-hmm. And I wear it because if you've ever been to the Masters, it's really hard to even buy gear there. And you have to wait in these long lines, and you have a certain amount of time you can go shop till you drop. So I wear it during Masters week, kind of set the tone. But you mentioned something about golf, and last thing I'll hit on, then I'm sure you have another question. But golf is so similar to football, but so different. It's so individualized that makes it different. But you look at Rory McIlroy in the Masters the other day. He hit some unbelievable shots and set himself up, and then bang, the next shot's in the water. You have to respond to the next shot, period. You have to spawn from the last shot. Last shot doesn't dictate what the next shot's going to be. He had all the momentum in the world. You're going to love me talking about this, Ryan. He had all the momentum in the world at 13. He's in prime location. The momentum, the sail, the wind is at his back. The sail is blowing. He's 113 yards out. He's got all the momentum. Bloop, bloop. And everything changed. Even his last putt to win the Masters from 5 feet away, he missed. I mean, it was gut-wrenching, and I don't even know Rory. Because as an athlete, as a competitor, it just rips your heart out. I mean, Heather and I watched that together, and we were like hyperventilating just because we felt so bad for him. Then he came back, same type of shot, put it 3 feet, made the putt, won the Masters, and got that monkey off his back after 11 years. So we were always hearing about what we haven't done as professional athletes, college athletes, coaches, pro coaches. And when somebody accomplishes something like that, it's what people go through. And we were all just so happy for him. And I think you didn't have to be a golf expert or a fan to at least be appreciative for the accomplishment he just had. So there's your answer to golf. But I love golf, and I love very nice courses if I do play.
Sorry, guys, I spilled something. I got to wipe it up.
That's what I'm talking about.
Hold on. Let me just grab my Masters towel here. These guys, PJ, are used to me just grabbing random artifacts from my sporting life and sporting world.
Well, I figure it was one of your kids or something did something and you kind of got up and had to go be a parent.
Just had to go grab. No, they're at school, thankfully. The best part of the Masters, because, good for me, I went a couple years ago Wednesday, is that you can't bring your phone in. And so everybody's just there. That was my favorite part, is you're not thinking about your phone. You're not worried about what you're missing. You're just there. And everybody's in a good mood because it's like bucket list for everybody. But being present in that moment, I looked at my sister and said, we're just here. This is unbelievable. And you couldn't get distracted. You see Rory make the putt. There's not one phone because they're not allowed. And at every golf tournament now, everybody's trying to chronicle everything, right? That's what I loved about it.
Not only that, King Griffey Jr. is the one taking pictures.
Right.
Like, how amazing is that? I agree with you, the no phone piece. That you can truly check out and be in the moment. And when you're at Augusta, there's a spiritual piece to that. There is a connection to the earth piece of that. There's a connection to sport at its birth. Like, it's very unique. The second part that's really good, JG, is the food. Oh. The $1.50 egg salad sandwich. The price of eggs, is crazy right now, right? So I can't believe they actually kept the price the same. But that was, to me, the greatest. You could go through that line, the way they shuffle people in.
It's so good.
And the only lines that are long, which is kind of different than most places, the men's bathroom is the longest.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and they run you out of there, too. 2 pimento cheese sandwiches, not enough. 3, too many, I think. Yeah. There's like a fine line depending on
moderation. Moderation.
Yeah, moderation.
Hey, PJ, speaking of traveling, I can't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago. I was sitting in MSP, and my wife's like, hey, I think that was PJ walked by. And, of course, typical PJ, he's like on a mission, like bombing down the concourse, trying to find him. But then I ran into you and Heather later. I think, weren't you going to a dude ranch, right? You're going to your daughter's competition and then a dude ranch. Is that right? To have that right?
Yeah,
what was that like? And then pick a dream destination, because I know you love to travel, that you haven't been to that you would take Heather to.
Yeah, first dream destination, I'd say Sicily, Italy, where she's from. So where her family's from. So I think that's going to be on the bucket list as we continue to go forward. Yeah, I love. We don't get a lot of time to vacation. We go to a lot of places for meetings and Big Ten meetings and Peach Bowl meetings and Fiesta Bowl meetings and all these things, but you're still kind of working. But we have our places we love on vacation. But I think one of the greatest vacations we ever went on, I didn't plan, and I'm usually the vacation planner out of Heather and I. Because when I go, I just don't want to be disappointed because I don't have enough. And she knows I mean that in the nicest way. But I don't have much time. So it's like, all right, I'm kind of an oldie but a goodie. Like, I know what I'm getting. I know who's there. I know what to expect. And I know I'm going to have a good time. I do not want to go on vacation and be disappointed. And she booked a spring break trip for her and I. And we went to Brush Creek in Wyoming. And it's a dude ranch. And it is probably the greatest vacation I've ever been on in my entire life. We actually went in a time where all the executives who own the ranch were all there. And we were just we got there at a certain time where they were going to transition those people out and then new people in. There's only about 20 people on the property at one time, guests. And there was about a 36-hour period where Heather and I were the only two people on about 70,000 acres. And we were horseback riding. They have one of the biggest bourbon collections and wine collections in the world.
Yes.
All the beef is all grown there, and it's all Wagyu cattle. We were snowmobiling up in mountains on fresh powder. I mean, in the mountains. So these roads get shut down in the mountains, and the roads then become snowmobile trails. And then you dip down into all these valleys, and it's, we're talking feet of snow, and you're just ripping through all these trees and valleys. You're having unbelievable dinners. The cabin we stayed at was the owner's cabin that they didn't happen to be there that week. So you're talking these big bears everywhere, these stuffed bears and animals. I mean, it must have been a 4,000 square foot house that we're in by ourselves, hot tub outside, and you are just connected to earth. And I think for us, we love to go places where you can reconnect with the planet, with earth, with perspective, simplicity, because I think our lives as coaches just move so fast, and you're always on to the next thing, and everything's about making it successful and better and winning and changing lives, that sometimes you need to be grounded in that. And nothing more grounding than bourbon, from the earth, in the mountains, with fire. Like it's
That's
special.
awesome. That's awesome.
I wrote that down. Yeah, I wrote
That's
that down.
right.
Speaking of bourbon, I mean, God forbid a man has hobbies. I know one of your hobbies is collecting bourbon, enjoying bourbon. How does one start the journey of bourbon, and which are a few of your favorites from your collection?
Well, first, I just want to make sure everybody understands. You watch some of these shows and Friends and Neighbors, or watching where people are having like bourbon in their office. I don't have any bourbon in my office. I just want to make sure we don't start that rumor that coaches.
This isn't a 1970s
Like Yellowstone.
Yellowstone,
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm sitting there going, I don't have one of those carts in my office. But I do love to collect bourbon and Cabernet wine. Like I love the process of things getting to the bottle. And I love the process of aging. Maybe not as a human being, but I love it in either food or I love it in wine and bourbon. But my whole dream was to have like a bourbon tasting room. And, we got a new house, and we have a kind of a bourbon tasting bar and wine, and then a cigar room. And it is so unique. And I think one of my, I'm a big Pappy Van Winkle guy. Anything Buffalo Trace, I love Blanton's Gold with the caramel taste, and then any bourbon that's older, the 23 years, the 25 years, the 18-year-old, even some of the scotches that are 18 to 25 years old, I really love. But I love an old fashioned, so I put normal Maker's Mark in my old fashions. I just feel like I can make some really good old fashions and make them all different too. So, but I do enjoy that. That is something that I do enjoy, and I'd love to experience with friends and donors and people that come over.
Have you been to Kentucky to do one of those bourbon tours there?
Believe it or not, I haven't. I've been to Napa a lot of times for the wine, but have not been to one of the bourbon tours. So that is something that we wanted to do. We were supposed to do that when we went to the Derby a few years back, but the weather kind of discouraged us from doing that. Because, of course, we'd go to the Derby that pours rain, and the winner that we actually had was disqualified. So the only time in Derby history.
Speaking of travel, of the 18 Big Ten programs to date now, this is April 17th, how many coaches' wives have committed to Big Ten football media days in Vegas as opposed to, I remember when it was in Chicago, PJ, Heather was always there. It's Hamilton. Everybody's wife was there. Then we go to Indy. I thought all you guys got divorced. I thought it was all over. There was nobody there. With Vegas, who's more excited for that interesting location for Big Ten football media days?
Well, I think Commissioner Petita moved it to Vegas because Heather was the one to bring it up to him. I think that's exactly why we moved it there. Heather was the first one, I think, to sign up. She booked we were all set. Like the minute it got announced, we were all set. So I'm sure a lot of them will be out there. That's for sure. I tell you what, that place, even the city of Las Vegas, over the last decade has changed so much.
Yeah.
Whoever's in charge of the tourism there has not only just cleaned that city up, the perception of that city, all the professional teams coming to that city. We go out there with a bunch of couples to celebrate Heather's birthday. We went to a UFC fight, like a championship fight last year with Perea was in it. Just what they've done. I mean, on the Strip to walk to a Las Vegas, Golden Knights game, to watch a hockey game in the desert right there on the Strip. Whoever has done that with the amount of hotels, the restaurants, it's first class. And look, Vegas is everything. I mean, for any person looking for anything you're looking for. But we love spas, we love food, and we love UFC. So it's a great spot to accomplish all of those. So Big Ten football, thumbs up on booking that to Vegas.
We love it. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah, PJ, I remember sitting in on that class that you taught in the business school, and you brought up the UFC. Like, how did you get so involved in being a fan of that?
You know what? I've always loved watching people do things that I don't do or like I'm not good at. So rarely do Heather and I go home and watch football. We'll watch a big game on maybe a Thursday night or maybe a Saturday night, late at night, most of the West Coast games. But I love to watch things that I'm not very good at. So UFC fighting, I'm not sure how good I'd be at that. It's a completely different sport. I think it takes a special individual to do that. I've watched how Dana White has created that. And boxing, I grew up with boxing. I used to sit with my dad and watch this little TV on the carpet, and I'd cuddle up next to my dad and just watch boxing. And that was huge in our family.
Yeah.
One of my great memories as a kid was fighting the neighborhood kids in boxing gloves. So that's what we did. But it's amazing how, and I'm not sure, don't quote me on the ratings and things, but it's amazing how UFC has surpassed boxing in popularity with young people, the energy around it, what people know of it. And I was immediately hooked when I saw it. And Heather knew a little bit more about it than I did when I first met her. And then we were able to go to it. We were able to experience it. Shoot, we met Dana White at Mother Wolf in Fontainebleau. He was beyond gracious to me, which was shocking. You see all the people out there. I met Dave Portnoy. We saw him here when he was doing the pizza thing. We saw him before a fight. So I think it brings so many people together as you watch, when people are, scanning the crowd of who's there. I mean, it's just amazing how Dana has built that into the company and really the mega brand that it is today. So just always been a fan of it.
Well, speaking of things you're not good at, let's continue on that path. I want to talk a little bit about your boating career, because I know you're on your third boat, I believe, here in your time here at Minnesota. What happened to the first two? And then how much let's phrase it like this. How's Heather as a first mate?
That's a great question. Well, I didn't sink any boats.
Well, that's
they
a
always
positive.
say start with a boat that you're willing to beat up. As you learn to park near docks, you don't have the side thrusters or anything. So, we have a Cobalt R7. Love it. It's a surf boat, but it's also a family boat. It kills two birds with one stone. It's a good cruising boat just to be able to, watch sunsets. But our kids love to wake surf, and I love to wake surf. So that's kind of how we spend the month of July. But it is our third boat. I had a fishing boat. Of course, I always loved to fish, but I was never a fisherman. But right when we got here, I was like, I have to buy a fishing boat because I'm going to be fishing all the time. And I never fished. That boat sat there forever. And every time I went on the boat, I didn't catch anything. So one, I didn't have any time to fish. Two, the boat sat there. Three, every time I went out, I didn't catch anything. So I like to catch. I don't necessarily, my personality fits fishing. I like to catch. Kind of like I love the recruit, but I love committing more, you know? So I think that for me, fishing passed me by. Sold that boat. And then now we've got the Cobalt. So I really love the boat, though. And we spend a lot of time on it, the most we can in July, which is probably a week out of the year.
Right.
But I pretend like I can boat with the best of them. Nothing better than boating, that's for sure.
I'm not letting you get out of that first mate question because as someone who has spent thousands of hours of their life on boats, I know how docking a boat or coming into a dock can test a relationship, especially.
I think all of you know my wife. I think you all know her very well. She's a phenomenal first mate when it comes to, like, she can boat better than I can boat. She can drive a boat better than I can boat. She can park better than I can park, but she wants me to do it. You know, we have a saying called, PJ, just be the boy today. And she wants me to be the boy, which is fine. I have no problem being the boy. But the way I park and the way she parks are two different things. And then whoever's not driving the boat's got to be the first mate. There's a bunch of shirts we have that, like, we parked the boat plenty of times and are still married. I'm a little more aggressive getting into that dock than maybe she is. My youngest daughter may or may not have, like, lost almost her whole finger and her fingernail. Maybe multiple times as I parked boats. But I like to get it. We're getting in there now. We're going to park it. Like, we're going to get parked and we're going to get out, not waste any time. But she's phenomenal. She is. I mean, she has such, I don't know if you know this about her, but she has such an appreciation and knowledge for engines and motors and cars and boats, anything with a throttle, anything with an engine. She can close her eyes and tell you what car is based on the start of the motor. And I'm sitting there going, that isn't so outside my world. But she's phenomenal. And the greatest thing that I love with my first mate is when she's in front, enjoying some sun, chilling, and truly checking out. Like, I love to watch her do that. Nothing makes me happier than her laying in the front of the boat with our kids, chilling. And that's what I love to see my first mate do, is really enjoy the boat, not have to worry about the stress that I'm putting on everybody as I drive, which the only ticket I've ever really gotten is on my bicycle, never on a boat. So that's good.
Well, hold on.
What was that for? Yeah, what was that about?
On a bike, guys. I'm not sure if you all know this, but I'm an avid, I love to cycle. I ran forever, ran marathons, and then I was like, you know what? Low back, I'm going to switch to biking. So I went to biking. And of course, I go all in on biking. I got the whole thing. So we're at a lake house. This is around 2020, and we're going around Lake Minnetonka. There's a path I always take every morning. Well, part of the path you get to, it has these little stop signs at every one of these people's driveway. And I get it. But there's like 7 driveways in a row, and there's 7 little stop signs. And I'm like, I've never seen anyone stop at these stop signs. These bikers are flying by me. Kids are going through these. You can see the driveways to the left. Okay. And it's typical Minnesota. And I'm giving you an excuse of why I got a ticket first before I actually tell you how I got a ticket. Yeah. So you can see the people coming out of their driveways. So you kind of slow down, but you don't really stop. I've never seen anyone stop. Well, long story short, I'm riding a bike one Saturday morning and I'm going, and I kind of slow down, go through the first, go through the second, go through the third. I kind of look over and there's this green truck, and whether you want to call him the warden or whether you want to call him, whatever it is, he puts his lights on and he's going down the trail on this road by me. And I'm like, jerk, I am. I waving.
Like, you're waving.
He has no idea this is Coach Fleck. I'm sitting there going, well, maybe he noticed me. I've never seen anybody get pulled over on their bike. So all of a sudden he starts getting closer and the road's starting to curve where the path goes. And I'm like, does he really want something? He rolls his window down and is like, you need to stop. You need to stop. So I stop. And literally he comes over. He goes, sir, do you have your license? I said, my driver's license? He's like, yes. And I apologize if you listen to this podcast.
It's be good.
I'm like, my driver's license? I said, I do not have my driver's license. He's like, we need to have your driver's license with your bicycle when we travel. It's really good to have that in case of things like this. I said, well, what is going on? He goes, you just blew through those stop signs back there. I said, like, that's against the law at the these people's garage, like driveways that I see people fly through all the time. Yeah, you need to stop at those. I was like, I stood on that. I swear. Now I got my helmet off, and all these people are going down the trail, and I swear to God, 9 out of 10 know who I am. Taking pictures,
Yeah.
And I'm like, I am sitting here getting a ticket. I got a ticket. It was like a $60 ticket. And then you know what? It was like the tail between my legs. I turned the bike around. He just ruined my whole ride. I went back. I told Heather. She goes, and she couldn't stop laughing. There was no remorse. There was no empathy. There was no, it's going to be okay. She was like, you're a complete dumb A. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's the only ticket I've ever gotten.
Well, good job keeping that quiet. I can't believe that wasn't in the papers or leading the Fox 9 News. That's
I'm
good.
sure it will be now.
I got my headline for tomorrow. Thanks, PJ.
That's the one thing we'll aggregate. All right, you got to go. I have one last question. How much joy do you take in watching the spirit of Ryan Burns leave his body every Monday press conference when he asks you about an injury and you say, we'll go to the availability report?
2 hours ahead of time, JG. Thank you.
It kills you. Kill Brian slowly but sure, because he gets pounded from the other side. How come you never ask about injuries? How come we don't know who's playing? He's just trying to do his job, and I can tell by the smile on your face you love that little game that you get to play every Monday.
I would love to say I do love the game, but it's never going to change. Like, that's just who I am. It's part of what I believe in, and that's why the injury report's the injury report. 2 hours before kickoff, everybody has to report it. So, I feel like there's so much you can find information so much out there these days that, we got to have a little bit of that journalism, in that dig a little bit.
He wants you to work, Burnsy. Oh, that's a challenge.
That's right.
All right. Yeah.
I like it.
You heard it here. All right.
Yep.
There's just so many people talk these days, and I never want the teams to have an advantage. And anything that you can possibly do to make sure somebody doesn't have that big an advantage on you. And a lot of people are like, it's a no big deal. Like, I mean, they still got to play. They still got to, whoever plays. But the way we build game plans is for not only schemes, it's for people. And why would somebody – now, if we had to tell you, we could tell you. But we have to tell you 2 hours before game time. Until they make it like the NFL, we're just going to play coy.
My favorite.
Look at that.
Yeah, if Coy's injured, please tell us.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for doing this. Appreciate
PJ,
it very
thank you.
much. Hopefully you didn't mind not talking football for 30 minutes, and we gave you a little bit of a break. You can go.
This was the most refreshing thing I've done.
There you go. You're welcome.
5 years.
You're welcome. Thank you very
soundbite.
much for real. We appreciate
Thanks,
it.
PJ.
Thanks so much, PJ.
Look forward to doing it again soon. Have me on a little more often, guys. I mean, come on.
You heard it.
You heard
There
it.
it is.
Thank you,
All
PJ.
right, guys.
That's the head coach, PJ Fleck, on to his next media availability.
That's
you
great.
can tell he just loves messing with you, Burnsy. I love it.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite part.
2 hours, Burns. These 2 hours.
Did you see the smirk on his face when
Yes.
he immediately knew?
I'm on his side on this one. I'm on his
Of
side.
course you are.
I
As
love
you
it.
guys bond over your west side of town, Minnetonka magic at the Masters.
He's further west than me.
And I love that Burnsy just runs into the brick wall every month,
Every week.
every week.
Every week we had to end on that. How about I'm getting arrested? I mean, what if you get?
Oh, that's a
cuffed
great story.
What if he said I'm not paying the ticket, and all of a sudden he gets hauled off on that guy's the green car?
Well,
So
as good as that was, my favorite is Heather going, PJ, be a boy.
I wrote that down. I was going to say that. I be the boy. I can't wait to say that at a halftime interview. It's like, hey, why didn't you had a minute left? You had the ball around midfield. Why'd you play for 3? Why didn't you be the boy? Your thoughts? I'm sure
I'd pay to be down there on the sidelines with you for that.
All right, that was fun. That was cool.
That's fun.
Good questions, guys. Good questions. We got to. I'm also intrigued by the Brush Creek.
Yeah. Well,
Wyoming.
it is funny because I saw him.
For that.
Yeah, my family was going on spring break, and like I said, he just goes bombing by us, and like we talked about, he's a typical PJ, walking at 100 miles an hour down the concourse, and we had walked around, and I ran into him before they were getting on the thing. He's like, "Yeah, we're going to this dude ranch," and I think it was. Oh, that was a joke. It's like it was after the UCLA. Was that last year?
Yes.
Yes, it was after all the UCLA stuff, and it was a couple weeks afterwards or whatever. And I saw him. I was like, "Ah, you heading out to LA for the UCLA job?"
Of course, you said that.
But yeah, he was all excited to go to this dude ranch, and you know, I do think coaches have so little time in their year just to kind of get away and decompress because Burns, the calendar. The college football calendar is so different now than it was, because of the portal and all these different things that there's probably so few opportunities for coaches to actually like really get away. And so it's cool to hear like his experience doing that.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. Now I kind of want to get into bourbon. I don't know.
I don't have enough hair on my chest.
Maybe my
I tried
IPA
to drink bourbon. I don't know where you guys are on the bourbon. I know you guys are Mr. IPAs, but
yeah,
I'm not
my two male friends outside of this podcast, obviously, they love themselves an old fashioned, and I'll try it every single time. And I'm just like, same thing I say about IPAs. How much are we forcing this, boys? Like,
you just got to get used to it.
This
you
is
gotta
not
get
good, but I understand it comes with age. One day I'll get there.
Yeah, I've had it a couple times, but it's just not. I'm more a IPA fan and wine fan than I would be.
We know
but
about
it wasn't.
wine.
It wasn't bad, but it wasn't my.
I can't believe we didn't stop the podcast when he said, "Well, we want to go to Sicily and just have Chip just say, all right,
yeah.
What do you want to know? Here's the next 15 minutes. When you get your lunch vino, this is what you should get for the house." No,
I'm sure if Heather's family's from there, I'm sure they know the routine of great pasta and great wine at lunch and dinner.
I had never seen anybody say yes so quickly than I did Saturday night at Jack's Cafe when the waitress walked by our table and said, "Would you like red or white?" And before the sentence was even out of her mouth, Chip said, red, I'll do red. And then he took the bottle and he forced it down like more into the cup to to get the cup a little bit fuller. No IPAs for me on Saturday because I was drinking Duck beer. That's a transition. What a fun time we had at Jack's Cafe on Saturday night. Thank you to everybody that came out. Thanks to Bill for for having the idea. Derek and Rob and everybody and their staff for helping us out with Dinkytown athletes, the players, obviously Jackson Howard, Dylan Whitkey, and Coy Parrish coming by and hanging out with us, and Jeremiah Carter, director of NIL operations for the University of Minnesota. That was fun, boys. That was a really fun time.
Yeah, I will say you knew it was going to be first class just because Bill does everything first class and Jax does everything first class. I was really appreciative of Jeremiah Carter, who can explain rev share and NIL and all the different challenges and loopholes and things that are involved with that, probably as well as anybody you're going to find in college athletics. He's so smart. I mean, it's his job, and he deals with it day to day. And also, this is the first time I talked to Dylan and Jackson. Obviously, I knew Coy from going up there, but man, they're impressive young men. Just I think the people that were there that got a chance to talk to them, very thoughtful and articulate and fun to engaging. Really, really good guys and representatives of the program. Like you talk about guys that you want to be representative of the program. I can't imagine you have better than that.
Yeah, or even some of the fans who I talked to a few different people who drove 5-6 hours to come to that, which
really
is always mind-boggling to me that they made a weekend of it, or folks who came up and said, we listen to the family or listen to the podcast as a family now, each individually, and then we text about it. It keeps people. It's crazy the things that college football can do for families, for people, and for the amount of people who came up to us and attended the event. I know we're so grateful for that, and so many people with such kind words. It makes it a lot easier to work around Chip's schedule when that,
when we're mad, when I'm moving my whole life because Chip's got to go up to ESCO again or something for one of his projects, and
football across America.
Well, I appreciate. It's funny. Like it's like I was talking with PJ. Like we all have kind of that time where we fell in love with college football. And it's weird. I mean, it's fun to be around people who love college football and like absorb our podcast because they just love all things about, and even though it's changed and it's different and some of my romanticism about college sports has been stripped away a little bit. I still love everything about it, right? And or the essence of it, and it's fun to talk to people that kind of share that spirit that we have, So I love. I mean, I was blown away by how many people came to that. If it had been 10, we would have had a good time talking to people about the podcast and college football and stuff. But to have that many turn out and just say how much they enjoy listening to this podcast kind of reinforces the idea behind us 4 years ago to get this started. And we thought that people might be interested in it, and to, learn 100 episodes later that they are, just beyond grateful, really.
Well, maybe you'll prioritize it more on your calendar then. Maybe that can be the lesson for moving forward. That it shouldn't.
I won't put you guys off.
It shouldn't just be some afterthought in your daily Monday through Friday. That maybe
hey, I've out of 100, I've only forgot to show up once.
True. I forgot about that.
Oh my God, that was such a low moment for me. I felt terrible.
That's why you got the planner. Yeah, you finally got the planner because you just straight up forgot about the show. That was beautiful. I forgot.
Well, it only took us 100 episodes now to have Chip get back on a headset, get back on a mic, because he has seen everyone's feedback via social media, wherever it is that.
Yeah. The guy tweeted at me, said, "Would you, for the love of God, please speak up?" And I'm like shouting into this, the head thing. It's like, okay, I'll try the headset. So hopefully this is better for everybody. And I am going to buy a mic like Burns and get the professional setup.
Yeah, I'll make it a pledge before we start the regular season 2025. We'll start making this more a professional operation. Because we kind of just, shoestring it in with duct tape. And, we used to do it in person. I like the YouTube better. I think we'll do more on YouTube as we go. It's obviously more convenient to just hop on a stream and do it. That's why we got the head coach today, right? When I was setting this up, they're like, well, can we do it in his office? I said, he can. We're all going to be in our offices. Oh, StreamYard. Yeah, done. We're done. Zoom, whatever it is. We'll make this. I've got plans to make this a more professional operation here before 2025.
Why would you want to make it professional? Like, my whole idea, I was telling somebody this at the event the other night. My whole idea or vision behind this was like 3 guys sitting at a bar talking college football, right? Like, not stuffy, not formal, just kind of shooting the shit, excuse me.
Oh, thanks. There. Now I have to bleep it out.
I'll leave it in there. Leaving it. Sorry.
317.
Yeah, shooting the breeze. Sorry about that. But yeah,
bar is soap for you, young man.
Yeah, three guys just sitting at a bar talking college football, and so. But yeah, we could maybe upgrade the audio a little bit for me.
Well, and I'm happy to start drinking during the show if that's the idea that you have. With the
rum runners and
Blanton's Gold, whatever PJ just talked about, I'm happy to do that.
Well, the only person who gaslights me more than Justin Gaard is my wife, and she loves to say that now, since I have multiple podcasts, as does Guardsy, men will just start another podcast instead of going to therapy. So this is what I guess us middle-aged men do at this stage of our lives.
Yeah, that's exactly right. This is our social interaction.
It is
on the TV screens, on the screens like this. Should we talk a little news or anything else you guys want to add about Jax? Besides people, the other thing I loved was that so many people had been there for the first time. So you know that they're hooked because the food was great. Obviously, the vibe is awesome. The dessert was good. The cake was unbelievable. Shocking. I would like cake. I'll say that for you, Bernsey. But it was awesome. Yeah, it really was. And it was fun to just hang out before and after. Great questions. We did a little Q&A in the program. Probably the Q&A went longer than anybody thought because people just kept raising their hands. So it was an engaged group, which we really appreciate.
Yeah, it was. I think my favorite one was asked during that, and I also got it beforehand because nothing is bigger than the bit. And people wanted to know, does Chip genuinely have a fear? Or is that a bit? And I said, it is a bit, but Chip also genuinely has a fear that if that thing drops below 80% on his phone, that the world is going to end and he's going to be the man left there standing and holding the bag there.
That's a long Uber ride from Jax to Woodbury. You gotta be charged, man. You never know what can happen. If you're not 100%, you never know what can happen to you. Right, Burnsy?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, yes. But
some people say fear. I would call it an illness.
I think it is. I think it's a little bit of both. A lot of things can be true.
Yeah, a lot of things can be true. But anyway, thank you, everybody, for coming. And hopefully we'll do another one maybe in the fall. Certainly we're going to try to do some kind of tailgate as well. We got a lot of things we're hoping to do. And that includes maybe a road trip sometime, where everybody ends up. We know we did get on the record that Chip's not going to any game that's not in California or Florida, basically, except the Music City Bowl.
Tennessee.
The only other bowl that he would potentially go to. But thank you again to everybody that came, and the players, like we said, everybody with Dinkytown Athletes, and, of course, Bill at Jack's Cafe. It was a wonderful, wonderful night. And I didn't realize I texted my wife about 9:15 about to head out.
Yeah.
And then, because I did intend to. And then when I got into my house at 11:15, I'm like, I wonder how long. Oh, yeah. Well, I guess I did stay a little longer than I had intended to. I forgot I had sent the original text.
Yeah, you wanted to finish out the keg there with the rest.
Yeah,
of it.
but she was sleeping. They were all sleeping. They didn't miss me. I didn't miss much at home, so it was great. But thank you everybody for coming. One of the things we talked about at Jack's Cafe is something we can kind of wrap up the podcast with. The biggest news in college football this week. We had one of our first ever high profile mini camp holdouts for Chip's favorite quarterback. He wanted $4 million. You guys can fill in all the details, but basically he wanted more money. Tennessee wasn't going to give it to him, and so he's on his way somewhere else where I don't think he's going to get the $4 million that he so desperately wanted. What do we think? What do we know?
Yeah, I mean, Nico pretty much opened the floodgates in NIL back when during the recruiting process, where it came out that a collective had signed a kid for, I think it was $8 million. And then the Tennessee Attorney General Jeremiah Carter went through this in his presentation, sued the NCAA, saying you couldn't prohibit someone earning this money. But my understanding from the reporting is he was scheduled to make $2.2 million this year. There are some quarterbacks that hit the transfer portal this year that were getting $4 million. I think it was a Duke and Beck going to Miami.
Carson Beck down there.
Carson Beck got $4 million. So either his dad and or agent wanted to renegotiate his deal. And I'll say this. He was pretty good. Certainly wasn't elite in his first year as a starter. Mm-hmm. He skipped a Friday spring ball practice and basically was a holdout. And Heupel, the Tennessee coach, said, we don't know everything behind the scenes. Was he said, I'm going to go in the portal, or Heupel said, we're moving on. But Tennessee came out that they said, we're moving on. We're not going to take part in this. We're not going to meet your demands. And I think his side was probably going to use likely was using the portal as a leverage ploy to say, well, if we don't get this, the portal opens on Wednesday and we'll enter it. And they called his bluff and they said, we're moving on. And so the fact that we're in a spot where $2.2 million is not enough or is insulting to a slightly above average quarterback, a good quarterback, not a great quarterback, but is who wanted to double his salary or his pay. I said I still love college football, but some of this stuff makes me shake my head, and so I appreciate Heupel taking a stand and saying we're not going to get involved in this. Now, you definitely could hurt yourself on the field because Tennessee has to go find a quarterback now, and there's reports that Nico's going to wind up at UCLA. I would be surprised if he even gets the $2 million that he was set to make.
It is a fascinating ending to that saga because it's not just from the last week. It goes back to, and Jeremiah Carter touched on it at the Parent Despair event, where he was one of the first high-profile guys to sign a deal with a collective, which was the 4-year, $8 million in total. Something to where then, even as Jeremiah laid out, like the Tennessee Attorney General sued on behalf of the University of Tennessee to make sure that this deal went through, where Tennessee has done so much for him. And then he tries to renegotiate. Now, it's not just on the kid. And
right.
We've only heard one side of the story, essentially, other than Nico's father initially calling out the reporting that it was false, and then everything happened as that reporter said in the next 24 to 48 hours. And that's Chip's point. It sounds like he's going to go to UCLA now. Sounds like the reported number that is going to go along with that is going to be somewhere around 1.5, 1.75, which is still life-changing money. He's from California originally, so it makes a ton of sense. And that's where I learned through this process as well. SEC transfers in the spring cannot go to another SEC school.
Yeah.
So that limited his options. He's from California. USC, UCLA made a lot of sense. But it is going to be fascinating to see, because I think this is obviously the first time something like this has happened in college football. How does college football, how does everyone else react? Because this won't be the last time until there is some type of collective bargaining, or we'll see what happens with the House settlement here. But it was a wild ride. I'm on Rocky Top over there, Chip.
Yeah.
This last week or so, because when he didn't show up to practice, as guards, you can call it a mini camp holdout, spring practice holdout. Tennessee finally just went, nope, we're done. You're off the team. Good luck.
And we've seen, I think, examples of kids that have not held out or whatever, but when they haven't been given their payments for what they've been promised, right? We've seen that. This is the first one where a kid held out because he wants more money or is going back on the contract that he agreed to. So I don't know. I don't know how many more cases. You never say never. I mean, I think this is kind of a unique case, but I'm sure there'll probably be a few more of these, particularly if it's a quarterback related. You're talking about those $1 million stuff, but Burns, you help me remind me, was he the first really high profile example of a collective doing a pay for play where you're getting the money before you even step foot on campus to, that's what people said. Now, wait a second. What is NIL exactly? We thought NIL was come here, prove yourself, then get marketing deals. This was, hey, we'll give you a lot of money to come here. And then if you make some appearances, great. If not, but this is, I think he was probably the first real high profile pay for play, correct?
He was. And peace and love to your favorite college football team, Chip. They've been doing that for a long time.
Above board,
that ended up getting national headlines, because when a kid from California ends up committing to Tennessee, everybody starts asking questions, and then they get answers, and then that's how an $8 million. And that's the funny part about it was there will be two things about the Nico era that people remember. Now, he did lead your favorite or second favorite, whichever you hold the Golden Gophers, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but he did lead them to the college football playoff. Now,
there's no question on that one there.
But they're going to remember the $8 million deal, which he only got to year two? End of year two, before he ended up moving on. So that $8 million never materialized. And then it's going to be him being essentially then the first example of, well, I want more money, or someone, his dad, his agency. Well, that's also been the funny part about this thing is, in college football now, everybody's got an agent, okay? Yep. And so when somebody hits the portal, they're represented by XYZ. I mean, we've seen Schefter or Ian Rappaport do that for years now, where it's when a free agent signs, Chip Scoggins signs with the Tennessee Titans, represented by Justin Gaard and XYZ company.
Right.
I don't know that I've seen the agent's name, specific agency, specific name mentioned at all with Nico, which I don't really understand how with such a high-profile case with this. But I hope it works out for him at UCLA in the long run here. I know that, again, when you put millions of dollars in front of kids that are under 21 or even under 25 with even the basketball portal stuff, but things like this are bound to happen where, as you guys know, when money gets involved, especially stupid money, everybody comes out of the woodwork claiming to have your best interest in mind, and so many of these people don't. So I hope that this is an inflection point almost.
Yeah, I mean, it's we see it all the time in pro sports that athletes get a rep or they get known by something that happens with their contract, whether they don't live up to it, whether they hold out, whether they whatever. Nico's going to have to carry this. Like, this is what he's going to be known as, the guy. And I don't know anything about the kid. I mean, I just tell you what I hear from, my buddies back home and stuff that I read in reporting, that that the people in his circle have a lot of influence on these things. And so they're going to have to wear it too. And then that his reputation is such that now people are going to see him as, the guy that, $2.2 million wasn't enough to play, and that he wanted to double his salary after basically 1 year as a starter. So you hope he goes there and just finds a new home and does well. But you're right. When you introduce this kind of money, this is the kind of things that these are results sometimes.
Do we believe the rumor that Oregon coach Dan Lanning was one that kind of blew the lid on this thing and said, hey, by the way, he's calling us asking for this much money, and he called Josh Heupel? I don't even know if it's true. I love it, though, because you guys know how much I love Dan Lanning.
Real housewives of college football, baby.
It wouldn't surprise me. Like, I think Lanning's I'm a fan of him. I like kind of how he runs his thing.
Yep.
I think coaches, even though there's, as PJ just mentioned our thing, if we need that much, edge, but I think when you get into the NIL world and the kind of the circus that's become, I think there's enough coaches that are frustrated by what's happening,
right,
and the transactional nature of it, that it wouldn't surprise me if a coach called Heupel and said, hey, just so you know, his representatives reached out to us about transfer, and I just want to give you a heads up. Particularly if that coach had no interest in the player, right? Like,
right.
If he had no interest in signing him, then what does it harm him?
Yeah, I almost hope it's true.
Yeah.
I think that
I want it to be true. I love Dan Lanning.
And that's where within every kind of, say, rumor or something like that, there's always a sliver of truth somewhere.
Yeah.
You just don't know if it's 10% or 90%. But I almost tend to believe that if it wasn't Dan Lanning, I bet you there is another high-profile head coach that did alert Tennessee to get the ball rolling again, to where that's how it got into the media initially.
All right. Well, let's wrap up the show with some breaking news. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It dropped while we were talking with PJ, and I just happened to look down. Lee Corso will do his final college game day, week 1 of this college football season, August 30th. 38 college football seasons will make his final headgear pick. I love the press release on college game day built by the Home Depot on Saturday, August 30th. He turns 90 in August.
Man,
he was on the first, official college game day in 1993. I believe that was Notre Dame and Florida State. Yeah, November 13, 1993, number 2 Notre Dame hosted number 1 Florida State in the game of the century. That was the first time they took it on the road. College game day used to just be in the studio. Believe it or not, kids. They used to just be in Bristol, and they would just do a college pregame show. Craig James, the old SMU player, was a big part of it. Chris Fowler obviously was, and Lee Corso. And we know that he's obviously had a lot of health issues the last handful of years, had a stroke, and but credit to them for continuing to let him be involved and find ways to keep him involved, because he was, it was a time, right, Chip? Burns might even be too young. Even before Kirk Herbstreit and obviously now Pat McAfee and what that show has become. Yeah. Corso was the Dick Vitale, if you want to make the comparison, the guy who brought all the different energy, the mascots, the pencil, the not so fast, my friend, the craziness. What a run, and credit to all of them for letting him stay involved as long as he felt like he could do it. And I know Kirk Herbstreit took special interest in helping him along, and he even thanked Kirk especially for just how gracious he's been over the years and making sure he was good to go and doing all those things. But there was a lot last few years of why is Corso still doing it? Why do they still have him out there? It's like, because the guy's earned it.
Because he's an institution.
If he wants to, he's 89 years old. It's probably not going to be perfect all the time. But the guy's earned, if he wants to be out there and he's good with it, everybody else, as Heather Fleck would say to PJ, be the boy. All right? Be the boy and let Corso do what he wants to do out there. So I'm nothing but respect for me on the whole thing. Yeah,
we throw legend around a lot, but that guy is absolutely legendary, and what he helped build with that brand and that show, and how it's become so symbolic with college football. And I do, the last couple of years when you saw him decline, and I loved how much Herbie really kind of the care he took and would jump in to, just the relationship they had. But you think about leaving a mark and a brand or whatever, and the not so fast, my friend. And just think about like what it means for people just picking up whatever mascot he get. How much that became a thing, a part of college football Saturday mornings to see. Oh, what's Corso going to put on his head? And then the crowd goes
crazy. Show. Even if you didn't watch game day, you watch the last 3 minutes of the show
to see what he does the wave. So that'll be a sad. I mean, that last one, it'll be a sad farewell. But you know what? That's what a heck of a run. What do you say? 38 years.
38 years on game day. Yeah, 69 different teams he wore the mascot, including the Gophers. They tweeted out, he picked the Gophers in that 2019 game the first time. I mean, think about how just that moment. People should YouTube it now. Like Minnesota got the Lee Corso headgear treatment. Like that is as stupid as it sounds. That was like a badge of honor.
Yeah,
for the program, for the fan base. It's a validation that we matter. We as Gopher fans here now. After the Bateman touchdown, didn't go too well that day, but it's a great picture of Lee Corso wearing Goldie's head right in front of Northrop Mall. Isn't that where they did it? I didn't get to go over there.
Hey, man, memories are about moments, right? And
that's right.
If you were there and you saw that, that's a memory you keep.
So he's danced with the Irish's leprechaun, ridden a motorcycle with the Oregon Duck, mounted a 17-foot fake elephant, sparred with Katy Perry, wrestled with Bill Murray and Will Ferrell, dressed as James Madison, Ben Franklin, the Statue of Liberty, Elvis Presley, and, of course, said the F word one time when he goes, F it, and grabbed another thing.
That's right.
Like, it's not – and by the way, I think McAfee's done a good job of being the new generation of, the energy and the bit that he's brought to the show. With singing the songs and doing that kick contest that they do. The show's obviously not going away, but it's definitely if you're of a certain age, which we are, it's always Lee Corso.
The energy gives off, or at least in my mind, is always Fun Uncle. Like you never knew what Fun Uncle Lee Corso was going to do in the last 10 minutes of the show, which is why you tuned in. And in 38 years. Goodness gracious. If any of us are still doing whatever we've done for the last 38 years, I think it's a heck of a run, man. But such great energy.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So they have some stats here, and I'll just bring them up here. First of all, he has a 665 win percentage on his picks, according to ESPN. He's 286. There's 430 mascot headgear selections all time. He's 286 and 144. Most headgear selections by team. Ohio State, 45, Alabama 38, LSU 25, Florida 22, Oregon 21. Trying to think if there's any other thing we need to know. Army, Navy, obviously they've done that. That's about it. He went 11-0 in 1999, his most wins without a loss in a single season. Wow. So we'll always remember 99. I love it. I love it. Anything else before we wrap it up?
I think that's it.
That was fun, man.
Yeah, thank you to PJ for
100.
Time. 100.
Let's do it. Let's do another 100.
You got it in you? I mean,
you got it in your planner?
Are you available? That's the
what,
biggest
4
thing.
years? We figured this is 4 years. Another 4 years.
We're upticking. I think we can get it done in 2.5. We're doing more episodes now. Now that we've included the off season, but that was fun. That was fun to have PJ. I'm glad he could do it. It worked out nicely that. It's spring football, right? They do have – obviously they're practicing. They've got recruits. Go to gopherillustrated.com. Burnsy's got a new profile on recruits like every day right now, right, Burnsy? Like commitments, people that are visiting. Like it's a crazy time, but we appreciate – that was cool. And you guys got him to tell some stories we'd never heard before, including getting a ticket, riding his bicycle.
Getting a ticket.
Which is so good.
That's awesome.
Dude Ranch's tickets, boating, bourbon, the Masters, you, him, and pimento sandwiches.
And that was in like 28 minutes. That was all the things that we covered. So thanks to him. Thanks to you guys for doing this for 100 episodes. And Burnsy for putting up with me trying to, publicly blast you as much as I do. You have very thick skin, so we appreciate that.
Well,
you have no choice.
Wear capes. It's okay.
Yeah, not all heroes wear capes. All right, for Jack's Cafe, I'm Justin Gaard. Thanks to Chip Scoggins. Thanks to Ryan Burns. Make your reservations. It is like 67 degrees today. It feels like brunch season.
It is brunch season, baby.
Patio's open. We saw that on Saturday night. So make your reservations at jaxcafe.com, jaxcafe.com, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody, for listening to all 100 episodes of the Pair and a Spare podcast.